welcome to another episode of Amanda Homestead. My name is Amanda, and today what we're going to be talking about is, I think, planting the most productive vegetable for your garden if you want to really start having all the vegetables that you need for the whole year, the spring, the summer, the fall, all the way through the winter, and that is the humble bean. Okay, pardon me that the letters are backwards here. So beans are not the sexiest vegetable to grow, but I think they're super productive. They're very consistent. There's hardly any years where I don't get beans. These ones are reliable. Also, they're really good for building the fertility in your soil. If you have seen the one episode I have on crop rotation, we talk about how beans are a legume and they are a nitrogen fixer, which means that they're actually going to take nitrogen from the air and they're going to bring it down into the soil. So this one is usually the first in my 3 crop rotations. So I do beans first because they add fertility to the soil. Then I kind of do general vegetables like tomatoes, eggplants, everything else, broccoli, whatever. And then the last thing I do is root crops. And then I do beans again because the soil will be depleted, and that's when I kind of add the beans in there into the mix, okay? So we're gonna talk about a few different kinds of beans that you can plant and kind of when and where you're gonna plant them. So the ones that I primarily plant are pole beans, and those are the ones that kind of climb up the stems and they get really tall. The reason why I like those is, although they take a little bit longer to start producing, they'll produce for you all through the summer, all the way through until the frost, as long as you make sure that they are watered, okay? So I'll usually put in bush beans, which are the low to the ground ones. They don't need any extra support. I put them in kind of wherever I can fit them more than anything else, just to get a little bit of an extra crop here and there. So I'll do the green pole beans. In addition to that, I also like to do drying beans. So these are ones that you can use like in a pork and bean soup. You can use them black beans in a chili. So these ones I'll do as well, and that's because I have more space. So I don't need, the size of my garden, I don't need 1/3 of it taken up by green beans, because that's just, my family will kill me. There's just way too many beans there. So what I'll do is I'll actually do some drying beans as well, I love this one. This is called Jacob's Cattle. And I mean, it's an heirloom one. It's quite productive, but I just love the way it looks. Look how pretty those are, right? Those are gorgeous. So I just, every time when these dry and I crack open these little pods and I see these awesome beans, I get really excited. So anyway, I plant those as well. As far as the pole beans, what you're gonna need is some kind of a support. So usually what I do is I make just like a bamboo pole trellis. So you can buy, and I got these ones because I bought those like Borlotti beans that are super tall. So I just buy bamboo poles. These ones are pretty tall. I mean, I'm not 20 feet tall, but hopefully that'll be tall enough. Guess we'll see. And I will then take them and zip tie them together. The nice thing about this is you can reuse it. So I'll pull these out in the fall and then I'll just store them in the garage. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and you can't see the whole thing, but it's really long. Maybe if I step back here. No, never. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is about 1/3 of the way down, I'm gonna zip tie those together. The four poles. I just use zip ties because they're really easy. And then what you can actually do is you can spread it into a teepee. Here you can see a row of, these ones were the black beans that I planted in here. So you can see the row of teepees. And the tomatoes are pretty small right now, but they're gonna fill out. So while we're waiting for them to fill out, you can kind of see this extra row here beside these climbing beans. I put in a row of those bush beans. In this case, I put some of those Jacob's Cattle because they will mature faster. And so then what I'll do is once those are mature, I'll pull them out, and then that'll give the tomatoes and these bush beans kind of a chance to expand. So as I said, I kind of put in bush beans wherever I have extra space. Same thing over here. I have got my squash. I think it's zucchini and acorn squash, which are, as I said, are very small right now. And so right beside it, surprise, surprise, one back there is flax actually. See, that's an experiment. We'll see if that works. Right beside it is a row of those Jacob's cattle, those bush beans. So if you don't want to do a drying bean, you could always put in a row of green beans right beside your squash. So now let's kind of show how we get these beautiful, super productive, super awesome, my favorite vegetable, beans. Let's see how we get them planted. So now I've got the mulch kind of scraped away to expose the soil underneath, and I pile the mulch up in between the rows here so that way it actually keeps the weeds down. So that's the first thing I do, and then I'm going to kind of just use my kind of sharp angled edged hoe here just to try and cut a nice kind of hole down for my beans seeds. So what you want to do is you want to plant them about twice the depth of the seed. That's pretty much a general thing. So that's how deep my furrow is going to be. 5 to 6 seeds around each pole, or every 4 inches, okay? So every 4 inches is how far I'm going to kind of space these, roughly. Oops. And these are my green beans. Now I'm just going to kind of move the soil over top of them, just to make sure they're covered, right? Because we want them down in where they're covered by twice the depth of the soil as the size of the seed. Then I'm going to tamp down on these just to put the seed really in good contact with the soil. Some people will put boards down here and walk on it. You could do that too if you wanted. I just don't have any boards right with me. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just going to put up my supports, my bamboo trellises. And I'm going to put these just outside of the rows that I've planted. I'd rather make them a little wider. So that's our one row finished of our climbing beans. I'm going to do another row of climbing green beans, and then a row of those Borlotti climbing beans, super tall ones. And then I'll come back and show you what it all looks like when we're... Alrighty, now all my rows of beans are planted. So my first row there is the Jacob's Cattle drying bean beside the squash. Then I have got 2 rows of the regular green climbing beans. After that, I've got a row of peas that didn't come up very well because we had a really cold spring. So what I kind of did is I kind of say I like to sneak things in, so I just snuck in a row of just green bush beans, because those will be ready faster than the climbing beans will, and so that way we'll have some green beans earlier in the summer. So I put those in. And then in our next little garden, as we step over here, we've got the super tall ones, the Borlotti beans, the brown drying beans. We have a row of the black turtle beans, drying beans, and then another row, if I step over here, oh, don't make you too sick. So as I said, we've got our 2 rows of drying beans, the black ones and the brown ones, and then we have another row of the Jacob's Cattle, those crazy spotted drying beans, okay? And right beside everything else, all my other goodies. So my whole vegetable garden, all the way down there, is all planted. I'm so stoked about that. I'm always excited when I get it all done. So thank you for joining me on another episode of I Demand a Homestead. If you have any questions, please place them in the comment section below. If you like this video, please feel free to press the subscribe button. If you have any kind of other things you'd like to have me do videos about, again, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'm kind of guessing about what I think I would have liked to have learned kind of as a novice vegetable gardener, but your suggestions are always appreciated. All right, in the meantime, have a great day and goodbye.